dumating tayo sa point na ang naging tingin ng mga Pilipino sa mainstream media is bias. Kaya nagsiputan ng mga trolls and they claim to be the one holding the truth for the Filipino people.
The traditional media is a very respected institution. Remember, we call them the fourth estate. The media provides check and balances and ensures transparency and accountability in government. Ang traditional media as well, may sarili silang code of conduct for journalists. No? Meron silang self-regulating agencies.
Do you think, sir, it's about time for the Congress to enact a law?
Yes, actually, dalawa yung nakapending na bill sa Kongreso ngayon na sinertify na ng ating Pangulo. Magtatayo tayo ng commission, Right to Information Commission, na sisiguraduhin na yung ating mga mamamayan, pag may impormasyon silang importante na kailangan sa gobyerno, ay makakapag-respond tayo at may-share natin sa ating mga kababayan. It covers all the three branches of government. The second bill that we're pushing out is the anti-fake news bill. Umuusad na rin yan sa dalawang kamara.
No spin, no lies, just the truth. Isang magandang araw sa ating lahat. So we are back. Another day, another fun and fruitful discussion kasama ang ating guests. Welcome sa Just the Truth Podcast. Ako si J. Tristan Tariela at samahan niyo ako at pag-usapan natin ang iba't ibang aspeto ng ating bansa kasama ang ating guests and syempre to know their side na hindi pa rin natin nakikita. Their lives behind the camera. Kung sino sila bago nila na-achieve ang kanilang current position. At kahit ang mga isyong ibinabato sa kanila. Lahat yan dito lang sa Just the Truth. Pero before we start our conversation with our guests, two things must be addressed. Ang sense of nationality ng mga Pilipino at ang misinformation na sumisira rito. Recently, sunod-sunod ang mga pro-China statements at stance ng ilang mga kilalang personalidad. Some of them defending China and questioning the government's efforts in defending our territory and sovereignty. Malinaw pa sa sikat ng araw, hindi nila suportado ang laban natin sa West Philippine Sea. We Filipinos should be smart sa pagpili ng susuportahan natin. Isa pang issue na kaakibat nito ay ang misinformation. We have never seen a scale of fake news like this before. Lies na pilit binabaluktot ang katotohanan ng mga trolls at ng China. From 9-line to 10-line, and now they're even claiming Batanes. See how absurd it is? What's even more ridiculous ay mga quote-unquote Filipinos na sumusuporta sa China. Kaya mga kababayan, rethink and reflect. Be wise sa mga susuportahan natin and learn to differentiate facts from fake news. Speaking of misinformation, our guest is one of our champions in fighting fake news. Siya at ang kanyang ahensya na pinamumunuan ay ang primary arm ng Malacanang sa public information, engaging citizens on governance at ang frontliner kontra ang misinformation. Let us explore the leadership and at the same time, ang personal na buhay ng isang seasoned journalist, former Director General ng Philippine Information Agency at kasalukuyang ating Secretary ng Presidential Communications Office, none other than Secretary Dave Gomez. Welcome sa Just the Truth Podcast. Sec Dave, magandang umaga sa iyo. Thank you sa pagpapaunlak ng aming invitation sa iyo, sir.
Naku,
mag-join ng podcast namin for Just the Truth.
Maraming salamat, Rear Admiral. It's my pleasure. Matagal ko na kayong pinapanood and congratulations on your podcast.
And of course, sir, kailangan ko din magpasalamat dahil alam naman natin, sir, na ang PIA is of course under your office, no? Sa supervision ng PCO. And kung wala ang tulong ng PIA, hindi matutuloy itong Just the Truth podcast namin.
Nako, thank you. Thank you din. So full disclosure, attached agency ng PCO ang PIA. So baka sabihin nila hindi daw critical yung mga questions mo. So okay lang, Admiral, okay lang. No holds barred tayo, no holds barred.
Nag-heads up ka na kahit na anong tanong, sir, game ka.
Game.
Yes, sir. Alam mo, sir, nung nagre-research ako ng bio mo, kasi ang ginagawa namin dito, sir, sa podcast, we get to know muna yung mga ano namin, sir, mga guests namin, no? Kaya lang, sir, na-realize ko, walang ganong ka-substantial information about your personal life. Talagang napaka-private mo na tao. Can you share with us, sir, taga saan ka, sir? Where did you grow up? And why you have decided to become a PR person and then eventually join the government?
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Yes, you're correct. I'm a very private person, at least in the last 2 decades, and that's by design. No, that's by design, and I'll talk about that later. Actually, I started my career as a journalist. No, started my career as a journalist, a reporter for the Philippine Star. We were pioneers at the Star back then, in the 80s when the Star was set up. And then I stayed there for more than a decade. I was a cub reporter from the Star, beat reporter, rising to become a senior political reporter for the Star. No, so I covered Congress, mostly the House of Representatives, and then the presidency of President Ramos at the time. Now, after the 1998 elections, I went into the private sector. That was the jump, no? From Philippine Star, I went to the advertising agency, Hemisphere Leo Burnett at the time. I became their PR manager. However, after the impeachment of then President Estrada, I received a call from Malacanang, President GMA at that time, and invited me to head the PIA, Director General of the PIA at the time. No? So that was my first stint in government after the private sector.
Parang yan lang, sir, ang nakita ko na information about you. No? You were the youngest Director General until now. Hindi pa naman na break ni Ma'am Kat ang record mo, sir. No? You were only 35 years old when you were
Yes.
asked by President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo to head the Philippine Information Agency.
Yes, I was 35 years old then. Makapal pa buhok ko, mahaba pa yung buhok ko noon. And you can see that sa mga portraits sa baba ng mga DGs. And I stayed in PIA for a year, no? For a year lang. And then I got an invitation again to join the private sector. And at that time, I was still raising a family, so medyo kailangan maghanap buhay. So the offer, which was very, very attractive, I couldn't say no. So that started my 2 decades in the tobacco industry. So I joined Philip Morris International back in 2001 as their communications manager at the time, and I stayed with the company for 23, 24 years.
Until you were invited by President Marcos to join his administration, sir.
No. I left Philip Morris in 2025 to retire. I was already a private citizen at the time. I had plans of traveling, being with my kids, with my wife. So I was a private citizen at the time. So I got a call from Malacanang inviting me to join the president, to help the president. And it was, to me, it's a bigger calling, no? It's a bigger calling than and I don't want to be selfish and tawag na ng bayan niya, tawag na ng pangulo, and you cannot say no to public service, you cannot say no to serving the president and serving our people. So it was a no-brainer, and it was not a hard decision to make. It was very clear. I'm being called to service, and I couldn't say no.
Yes, sir. Later siguro, sir, pag-usapan natin yung challenges mo as PCO now,
Okay.
Encountering fake news and misinformation. But I would like to discuss, sir, how do you see the information space? I mean, going back in the 80s, sir, ang source of information lang is radyo, dyaryo, at television.
Correct.
But now, meron na tayong social media. The information space is so vast. And during that time, sir, at least mas madaling ma-regulate ang flow ng information.
Right.
Pero ngayon, napakadali na dahil sa social media platforms.
Correct.
So, as a PR then and now the PCO now, how do you cope up with this kind of challenges in ensuring na ang flow of information will still reach the ordinary Filipino people?
You know, you're correct. The media or the information landscape has evolved tremendously, especially in recent years. I feel fortunate and at the same time challenged to have been a witness to that evolution throughout my career. Back in the day, it was the days of typewriters and fax machines and beepers when I was a reporter. No, so it was really challenging to meet your deadlines, to file your stories, all the way to the current landscape where you see an almost 50-50 split in the way people acquire information, people get the news from, no? So when I say 50-50, 50% from traditional media, print, radio, TV, and the other 50%, they get it from social media, from digital, no? From content creators, from influencers to news portals. So maraming sources of news. But at the same time, there lies the challenge, no? Now you have to be more discerning. Now we advise people to curate their sources of news because of so much misinformation, so much fake news are out there being driven by vested interest groups. No, so it has evolved, and at the same time, before nung panahon naming reporters, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, sagrado yun, ano? Kasi deadline time eh. So, kailangan talaga ma-file mo yung news story mo by 4 or 5 p.m. Now, the deadline is 24/7.
Yes, sir.
Diba? And the news doesn't sleep now,
And
no?
in matter of minutes, kapag
Yes.
may nangyari, makikita mo na sa social media.
Correct.
Nung panahon na yun, sir, kailangan mo pang makita yung printout ng
Oo.
headline ng newspaper,
Oo.
saka lang malalaman ng mga Pilipino kung ano nangyari.
Correct.
Or it will take hours bago mai-report sa radyo at sa telebisyon.
Yeah, now it's a 24/7 news cycle. So,
Yes, sir.
so tuloy-tuloy.
So, ngayon, sir, because of that, everybody can already create their content. Everybody can post something in the social media. You don't really have to be a disciplined journalist or a media practitioner. Parang lahat has their own voices na para magsalita kung anong impormasyon na gusto nilang ipakalat. Now, the challenge is, how do we tell the social media platforms, in your capacity, sir, as PCO, nagkaroon na ba, sir, ang effort, ang government? Kasi kung maalala ko, sir, last year during the TRICOM committee hearing ng Congress, ang isang na find out ng ating mga kongresista is the social media platforms themselves, parang inalaw nila kasi hindi ma-regulate kung paano matatanggal yung content na nagpapakalat ng misinformation. In your capacity as PCO, sir, what was your effort in making sure that the right information will only be posted in social media?
Siguro, Jay, if you allow me, let me go back to the time na when I first met the president and he invited me to join his cabinet. Yun ang unang mandato sa akin ng Pangulo, no, na labanan itong misinformation, disinformation, tsaka itong paglaganap ng fake news at paano ba raw natin gagawin yun, no? Yun ang unang hamon sa akin ng Pangulo at unang bilin niya sa akin. Early this year, we launched an anti-fake news campaign in the PCO. We established an anti-fake news desk first, no? Yung desk monitors and collates data for filing of appropriate charges, no. Nung na-set up namin yung desk na yon, we had a memorandum of understanding with all the 9 broadsheet publishers in the country, no. So tinipon namin lahat ng mga publishers. Maaari nyo ba kami tulungan dito sa anti-fake news campaign namin? Can you be our fact checkers? Can we send you a post, for example, again, let us know accurate ba or fake yung data? And they agreed, no? So we signed that MOA with the 9 publishers. Pagkatapos noon, kinausap namin yung Department of Information Communications Technology, DICT, ang Department of Justice. Pwede ba tayong magkaroon ng tripartite agreement para mapabilis yung pagsugpo? Unang-una, pag may na-spot kami or si DICT may na-spot, we build the case right away, file it with the DOJ and the DOJ to expedite the appropriate charges, no. So pagkatapos noon, nung napirmahan namin yung tripartite agreement na yon, nakapagsampa na kami ng mga at least 5 or 6 high profile cases. Hindi ko na lang babanggitin na para hindi ko
Yes, sir.
mabigyan ng traction pa yung mga fake news peddlers na yon. Pero yung 5 or 6 cases na yon, umusad na, no. But more importantly, doon sa 5 or 6 individuals na yon, yung mga post nila na-take down na. Na-take down na lahat, and hindi lang yung post, but the pages themselves hindi na namin makita, hindi na visible yung pages, no. So more than anything, I think I don't want to claim success, but a modicum of success in sending that chilling message to the peddlers of fake news na magdalawang isip na kayo because government will go after you.
Sir, speaking of fake news and misinformation, as the PCO, ano sir ang advice mo sa palasyo or sa Malacanang each time na may ilalabas ang mga trolls na maling impormasyon, for example, sa First Family or sa Pangulo? Is it necessary for the government to respond to the fake news or we just ignore it kasi fake news naman? Kasi para sa akin, sir, personally sa akin, kung titingnan natin, sir, ang fake news and misinformation, especially about West Philippine Sea, no? Alam mo naman, sir,
Yeah.
kapag may nakita akong fake news and misinformation, kapag binanggit ng politiko, influencer, pinapatulan ko.
Yes.
Kasi para sa akin, you have to respond dahil if you're just going to let it out na yan lang ang nasa information space, people will think na yun talaga yung tama. Kasi yun yung makikita nila
Correct.
sa social media.
Correct.
Kayo, sir, anything that is thrown at the Malacanang or the First Family na fake news, do you recommend, sir, na kailangan natin sagutin to dahil hindi to tama?
Very good point, Admiral. And then you raise several points there, no. First off, I think we should be able to distinguish between a legitimate expression of opinion and a deliberate attempt to misinform the public generated by fake news, no. You have to draw the line there, but it's a blurred line. If somebody is just expressing his personal opinion, which is protected by our constitution, the freedom of expression, and a deliberate intentional attempt to misinform the public. So that's where that's the first lens you should wear in examining those content. Now, our role in PCO and the way we advise Malacanang is if it is an expression of opinion that is contrary to our position, to our views on issues, then we have to respond and put the post or the information in its proper context. The best way to counter misinformation like those is the truth. The title of your podcast.
Yes, sir.
It's our number one. It's our number one defense against misinformation. Give them the proper context. Give them the proper information. Give them the truth, and those things will die down. But for intentional fake, alam naman nating fake talaga yan, generated by AI, deep fakes, we have to go after them, no. Unfortunately with the 24/7 news cycle today, 1 minute lang nakapost yan or even split second, it creates harm, it creates damage, no. Eto lang, bukas nga meron naman kami sasampang kaso sa at least dalawang social media pages who intentionally spread fake news itong nakaraang kalamidad natin, yung bagyo at habagat. Nakakasira na ng buhay, nakakasira na ng properties and yung mga ganyang misinformation na dapat talagang hindi na natin pinapabayaang lumaganap, no.
Do you think, sir, it's about time for the Congress to enact a law that would address fake news and misinformation?
Yes, actually, dalawa yung nakapending na bill sa Kongreso ngayon na sinertify na ng ating Pangulo na sa LEDAC as urgent, as a priority piece of legislation. Hindi pa siya na-certify as urgent, but it's certified priority of the President. Dalawa yon, yung Right to Information bill. Hopefully maipasa na natin, nasa bicameral conference committee na siya at na-commit na rin ng liderato ng both houses na papasa daw this current regular session of Congress, no. So malaking malaking landmark legislation kasi unang-una magtatayo tayo ng commission, Right to Information Commission, na sisiguraduhin na yung ating mga mamamayan, pag may impormasyon silang importante na kailangan sa gobyerno, ay makakapag-respond tayo at may share natin sa ating mga kababayan yung impormasyon na yon, ano. Kung naalala nyo, before, meron tayong executive order on freedom of information, but since it's just an executive order, it only covers the executive department. Now, with the right to information law, hopefully soon, it covers all the three branches of government. And you have now a commission to ensure that the three branches of government will comply to the requirements of the law. The second bill that we're pushing out, help push out, is the anti-misinformation or anti-fake news bill, no. So umuusad na rin yan doon sa dalawang kamara, and hopefully maipasa din this current regular season of Congress.
Sir, you have been in this industry privately and publicly, and para sa akin, sir, ang isang challenge natin ngayon is that dumating tayo sa point ng ating kasaysayan na ang naging tingin ng mga Pilipino sa mainstream media is biased. Kaya nagsiputan ng mga trolls, nagsiputan ng mga social media influencers, and they claim to be the one holding the truth for the Filipino people. How can we be able to once again bring back yung paniniwala ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino na the mainstream media, the disciplined journalists, the media practitioner are the real voices of what is the truth and that the Filipino people should really listen from?
I will not say that they're the only voice that they should listen to, no. But I would say that the traditional media is a very respected institution. Remember, we call them the fourth estate, no. Ako nga, kung kinukumpara ko sa kanila na kung we have three branches of government na parang tripod, kung wala yung fourth estate, magkukollapse din yung tripod. The media provides check and balances and ensures transparency and accountability in government, no. So ang traditional media as well, may sarili silang code of conduct for journalists, no. Meron silang self-regulating agencies. So our people can continue to trust the traditional media to be responsible sources of news and information.
Pagdating, sir, sa mga social media, how do you see na kailangan ma-regulate din ng mga social media influencers, sir?
You have to realize kasi yung mga content creators na yan uses several platforms, no. And the platforms are independent of government regulation, no? So you have Facebook, Meta, you have YouTube, Google, you have TikTok. However, isa pang nakalimutan kong banggitin kanina doon sa aming anti-fake news campaign is we also met with representatives of the various platforms here. The three platforms na mention ko kanina, na-meet na namin sila. And in the absence of a government regulating body or in the absence of regulation for their platforms, sila themselves explained to us na kami, may mga community standards din kami in place. And we follow that community guidelines. So sabi nila sa akin, you can be assured that if you spot something that violates our community guidelines, let us know, and we will work to take down those posts, those accounts, no. I believe that ang hamon siguro sa kanila, sabi ko nga, paliwanag nyo, maigi ko ano yung mga community standards nyo, yung mga do's and don'ts, ano yung pinagbabawal at ano yung inaalaw nyo. Para alam ng tao, at sila na rin mismo mag-report sa inyo na may na-spot akong ganito na that violates your community standards, and then they can easily take it down, no. So at the moment siguro self-regulation, but they have their own set of regulations respectively, and siguro yun lang ipaalam pa natin sa ating mga kababayan kung ano yung mga community standards na to, no.
Ang isang critic, sir, ng mga social media influencer during the TRICOM hearing is meron na daw tayong line na i-cross if we're going to regulate information social media platform. the constitutionally guaranteed na freedom of
Correct.
speech. No?
Correct.
How do we draw the line, sir, na masasabi natin you have already excessively used your constitutional freedom of speech sa pagpapakalat ng maling impormasyon? Paano mo madidistinguish yung dalawa na yan, sir?
Ayun nga, balik ako doon sa sinabi ko kanina, Admiral. You have to begin first to distinguish, ano ba to? Personal opinion ba to, or talagang fake, no? Or misinformation talaga, intentional. Once you establish na, no, na-establish na natin yung na personal opinion niya or expression of his political belief, then we have to respect that. We just need to respond to that, but we have to respect that, no? Pero kung fake, that's I think where regulation should come in. That's where the state, in some cases, have the right to protect itself, no? And that's where we draw the line, no? So we will not, from the point of view of the PCO, we will not exercise censorship, but we will exercise the right of the state to protect itself.
Alam mo, sir, mula day one ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr., tinindigan niya na ang ating karapatan sa West Philippine Sea. Ang pinaka most popular line ni Pangulong Marcos is he will never surrender a square inch of our territory to any foreign power.
Yes.
At nitong huling sona niya, binanggit niya ulit, no? Na we are not liars, we're not greedy, and we're not racist.
Right.
At ito ang tinindigan ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino pagdating sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea. And ang danger natin, sir, sa misinformation ng issue ng West Philippine Sea is that it's not that they are violating anything, but what they are endangering really is our national security. For example, kapag sinabing wala tayong basihan, hindi ito naaayon sa UNCLOS, na mga linyahan na nagko-confuse ng ating mga kababayan, I definitely agree with you, sir. These people should be held accountable, no? Because it talks about the national security concern ng ating bansa, no? And this is also what we should need to focus on, no? Ang panawagan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos nung nakaraang SONA, kailangan nating magkaisa regardless wherever you are from, no? Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Pag pinag-usapan ng West Philippine Sea, we should be one as Filipinos dahil ito nga daw ang ipapamana natin sa susunod na saling lahi ng Pilipino. When we talk about this kind of trolling sa mga ganitong pagsasalita ni Pangulong Marcos sa issue ng West Philippine Sea, sir, how serious is it na nakikita natin ang pagpapalagana pa rin ng fake news para takutin ng mga Pilipino, at the same time ma-confuse tayo and even doubt our own position in the West Philippine Sea?
You raised several points there, Admiral, no? But let me go back first to the point of national defense, no? I think ilang beses na natin narinig ang Pangulo na dito sa issue ng West Philippine Sea, it's really a complex issue. It's multifaceted, and it stands on several legs, no? First is we have to strengthen our national defense and security. Second, sinasabi ng Pangulo na we have to exhaust all diplomatic channels in settling the issue. And on both counts, ang priority natin is to diffuse the tension, to de-escalate the tension. At huling-huli, ang sinasabi palagi ng Pangulo, napakarami nating common ground with China. Bakit tayo nagpo-focus dun sa issue na hindi tayo nagkakasundo? Marami tayong pwedeng pag-usapan. Habang hindi pa tayo nagkakasundo, isang tabi muna natin yan. Pag-usapan natin yung mga dapat nating pag-usapan na magbe-benepisyo ang dalawang bansa. People-to-people relations, cultural exchanges. Napakarami natin pwedeng pag-usapan. Bakit dito tayo, habang inaayos natin yung issue na yon, huwag tayo mag-focus doon. Dito tayo Ngayon, doon sa punto nyo nga na misinformation, I think hindi naman nagkulang ang administrasyon doon, no? Every time kayo kino-correct nyo, Admiral, no? Ang ating DFA nagpa-file kagad ng diplomatic protest. We hear strongly worded statements as well from the DND, no? So hindi rin tayo nagkukulang doon, no? Kami pag talagang obvious na fake, working with the platforms, we can and we will move to take down those posts. Kung international man yung pinanggagalingan ng post, at least i-geofence natin sa Pilipinas, hindi makikita ng ating mga kababayan. So again, going back, it's really a very complex problem na walang silver bullet na na para ma-resolve natin lahat ng issues na to.
Alam mo sir, nakailang guest na ako dito sa podcast. Na-invite ko na si former Secretary Ronald Llamas, Christian Isguera, and other guests na alam natin kritiko. At hindi mo masasabing kritiko lamang ng government, but of course, they also recognize the efforts of the national government. No? And ang pinaka-common na laging sinasabi nila is that under this administration for President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ay nagkaroon ng kalayaan ang mga tao na magpahayag ng kanilang sentimiento. Whether they are critic, pro, or against the government, wala naman tayong sinabihan na podcaster na bawal mong salitain yan, bawal kang maging kritiko ng pamahalaan.
Correct.
Everybody is welcome to create their own content, i-post sa social media, magsalita. At wala pa ako narinig na nagsabing sinasilence sila ng palasyo. Can you explain to us, sir, how important the freedom of speech for the President and the national government right now?
Yeah, napaka-importante sa atin nun. Admiral, sabi ko nga kanina, yan yung fourth estate, no? And nire-respeto talaga natin yung constitutional right to freedom of expression. At hindi lang namin sinasabi to. Yung mga guests mo nga, sila na nag-cite ng mga examples, no? Nabanggit ko kanina na meron kaming MOA with the 9 publishers to fight fake news. Pero nakikita mo, some of them, in fact, all of them, are you can still see and read criticisms from them of the government kahit na may agreement kami on one area that is fake news. Because that is part of a healthy democracy. No? We need fiscalizers to ensure checks and balances in government, no. And the Marcos administration really holds press freedom in high regard. Palagay ko hindi lang napansin ng ating mga kababayan, but only this year, dalawang napakalaking bagay ang ginawa ng administrasyon natin upang itaguyod ang press freedom, no. Kung naalala nyo, nung huling administrasyon, may cyber libel case na final laban sa ating Nobel Peace Prize awardee, si Maria Ressa ng Rappler, di ba? Nung Marso, inurong na ng Office of the Solicitor General yung kaso na ito. So, nung inurong ng Office of the Solicitor General, dinismiss ng Supreme Court. Pangalawa, yung ownership issue ng Rappler, na challenge din nung nakaraang administrasyon. Kinestyon nila yung ownership structure daw ng Rappler na may mga banyaga daw na nagmamay-ari. Hindi na rin pinursu ng Office of the Solicitor General. As a result, dinismiss din ng Supreme Court. I think just on those two examples, recent examples, you can see how we hold press freedom in our country in very high regard.
Alam mo sir, naalala ko noong nakaraang administrasyon, hindi lamang nakasuhan ang Rappler at si Maria Ressa. Para sa akin, until now, no, sino ang makakaakala 10 years ago na ang ABS-CBN as we know it, mula bata ako hanggang bago sila may pasara, ay ba ipapasara? Right? And ito talaga ang chilling effect sa lahat ng mga journalista, media outlets, na hindi ka pwedeng maging very critical pagdating sa gobyerno.
Nung nakarang
administrasyon.
Okay.
But for President Marcos, everybody has their own content. Everybody can write their own opinion pieces. And wala namang tinakot, no? O nasasabing ipapasara sila. And it's good to know na the President also no longer push for, filing cases against Maria Ressa.
That's correct. We just need to draw the line between responsible journalism and irresponsible journalism. Yung irresponsible, that's yung nando ka na sa area ng kaparehas ka na ng fake news, we will go after you. But for the responsible ones, no, we respect your right to freedom of expression.
Ang isang gusto kong itanong sa iyo, sir, dahil mas alam mo na tong industriya ng information. Do you think, sir, na ang pagsasara ng ABS-CBN also impacted the free TV industry? Kasi laging sinasabi, sir, and I think, alam mo rin to, sir, Nung buhay pa ang ABS-CBN, nung bukas pa sila, pagdating ng mga typhoon updates, bawat probinsya, nandiyan na agad ang mga ABS-CBN regional news report team para
Right.
magbigay ng balita. No? Ngayon, parang hindi na tayo masyadong updated sa lahat ng mga balita na ganito, bawat probinsya. Although it happens through social media. But para sa akin, more than that, ang kahalagahan ng free TV still matters. Do you still believe, sir, na the free TV is still needed para makapagbigay tayo ng impormasyon sa ating mga kababayan Pilipino?
Oo naman, Admiral. I mean, buong bansa, mataas pa rin ang penetration ng free TV, no? Yan pa rin susubaybayan natin mga kababayan sa mga far-flung provinces, no? Hindi naman lahat yan may access to internet, hindi naman lahat yan may access to cable TV, no? So, malaki pa rin ang role ng free TV, no? Terrestrial TV. At hindi natin pagkakaila talaga yung pagkasara ng ABS-CBN. Talagang nayanig ang buong industriya, ang buong media industry sa ating bansa, no? But in fairness to the other networks, surviving networks, they've also been very responsible. They've been able to fill the gap, the vacuum left behind by ABS-CBN, and they are now being looked up to by our citizens for ganong exactly the updates na sinasabi nyo. Pag may bagyo, may kalamidad, they tune into the other free TV networks, and they have really improved in the scope of their coverage, the area that they cover, and I've seen a lot of field reporters now very very professional and very responsible in their reporting. So, nayanig siguro nung panahon ng nakarang administrasyon, pero yung industriya ng media ngayon, I would say nag-stabilize na muli, responsable at very professional ang ating current media landscape.
Alam mo, sir, ang pinaka-importanting tanong na gusto kong malaman sa iyo, sir, is how do you support the national government in spreading the message of the president, in informing the public about the programs, the projects, the initiatives of the national government para suportahan ang buhay ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino, while at the same time you're also being ang information is also being challenged by misinformation and fake news.
Correct.
Para sa akin, napakahirap gawin yan eh. So, being the PCO, sir, how do you navigate this fake news and misinformation, and with your job in providing the right information?
Oo, totoo yan, Admiral. It's really very challenging. We encounter a lot of headwinds almost every day, no? And part of those headwinds yung fake news. And we really have to deal with them, no? As PCO is a very big department, no? We have 7-8 attached agencies to it, no? Mapalad na lang ako at meron akong USEC na head ng aming Palace Press Office, si USEC Claire Castro, na napakahusay na spokesperson, no? Para tumugon doon sa pangangailangan na magsalita sa media, because I cannot do that on a day-to-day basis, at mas mahusay sa akin si USEC Claire pagdating sa ganyan, no?
May props pa si USEC Claire.
May mga
most of the time, no?
Oo. Pero yung napakalaking hamon talaga to me to face that challenge, and in acknowledging the evolution of the media landscape, we have to be present in all communications touchpoints, no? So hindi lang print, hindi lang yung print, traditional media, but pati sa digital, in social and in news platforms. We have to be omnipresent in all the communications touchpoints, and I believe my current team is doing a great job, no? Meron kaming digital team, meron kaming press office, meron kaming attached agencies like the PIA to reach the grassroots. All possible communications touch points, we have to be present there. And that's really very, very challenging, no? But as a matter of strategy, that's one of our strategies in PCO.
Alam mo sir, hindi lang dahil sa nagpapalakas ako kay DG Cat. Pero ang PIA,
Malakas na kayo doon, Admiral. Malakas na kayo.
pero ang PIA sir, ang para sa akin no, ang pinakamahalagang attached agency ng PCO dahil meron silang mga regional offices at meron silang connection sa grassroots
Correct.
radio stations
Correct.
na primary source ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino. And for me, making use of PIA as the backbone of the information dissemination ng ating pamahalaan is really effective, no? Dahil katuwang natin ang PIA, sir, of
Correct.
course,
Correct.
because of your approval sa pagpapakalat ng tamang impormasyon sa West Philippine Sea.
Correct. Admiral, ang PIA nagsimula yan, ano lang yan, parang the arm of the executive for developmental communications. So using all our regional and provincial offices, we propagate developmental news, no, yung mga programs and projects of the administration that would benefit directly our people in improving their lives, no. Now, bukod doon, ang tingin ko, bukod sa developmental communication, tumaas na rin yung hamon sa PIA at yung mandato ng PIA na yun, labanan din yung mga misinformation na yun. Ilagay sa tamang context yung mga misinformation on the ground. Hindi lang sa national level, Admiral, yung mga misinformation. So even at the provincial level, may kita mo na may mga local political dynamics involved. So one political interest or another would propagate fake news. Ang tinatamaan ng national government, tinatamaan ng administrasyon, di ba? So even at the provincial or regional level, we have to put things in proper context and respond with the truth.
Sec Dave, meron kaming part dito sa podcast namin, sir, na post kami, sir, ng mga mean tweets. No? Na alam naman natin, sinulat lang ng mga trolls, ng mga bashers, or mga taong hindi natutuwa sa ginagawa natin, no?
Napapanood ko yun, Admiral. So pwede na natin tapusin dito tong interview na to?
Hindi, sir.
Kailangan natin tuloy.
Tatanungin ko pa, sir, kung game ka na basahin natin itong mga mean tweets na to so that you can have the opportunity to respond
sure.
sa mga posts na to, sir.
Yeah.
So, game ka ba, sir?
Game. Fire away, Admiral.
Yes, sir. Simulan natin, sir, sa isang Facebook post. This one is from your interview where you said na maaaring mag-iwan si President Marcos Jr. ng one of the strongest legacy after his term. Ang sabi ng isang social media user, kahit siya hindi makapaniwala sa sinasabi niya. Kayo daw, sir, kahit kayo daw, you're not even convinced sa sinasabi mo daw, sir.
Nako, salamat sa opportunity, but I can talk for hours accomplishment ng ating Pangulo. Pero i-refresh ko lang yung viewers nyo nung sinabi ko doon sa interview na yun. Ang sabi ko, nabanggit ng Pangulo that the contemporary may be harsh, but history will be kinder to him. Will be kinder to him because I honestly believe that he will leave one of the best legacy for any sitting president when he steps down. No? Bakit ko nasabi yon? Unang-una, kung natatandaan nyo, recently lang, ang World Bank mismo in-elevate ang status ng Pilipinas to an upper middle income country status. Napakalaking accomplishment po yan para sa ating Pangulo. Ang ibig sabihin nun na yung kanyang mga programa, mga polisiya niya are working and they are effective. And that sinusukat yung status na yon through gross domestic income. So ibig sabihin nagtitrickle down na yung economic growth sa income ng ating mga households. So upper middle income na tayo. Matagal na tayong nabulok sa lower middle income country status since 1987, Admiral. The year after Ferdinand Marcos Sr. left office, now his son has elevated us to an upper middle income country status only in 4 years. Now, in a lot of areas, priority areas of the president, he has delivered most of his promise. Tandaan natin, Admiral, may 2 taon pa. But in a lot of those areas, like for example, in healthcare, providing affordable healthcare, napakarami na nating kababayan na nagbenepisyo dun sa zero balance billing program. Yung PhilHealth, napalawak na natin yung mga benepisyo sa PhilHealth. yung mga cancer screening, parang naitaas na natin ng yung coverage noon. Yung maternity benefits, ang laki na rin ng itinaas ng maternity benefits natin from normal delivery to cesarean delivery. And ngayon, panahon ng tag-ulan, yung leptospirosis, tinaas na rin natin ang coverage ng mga makikinabang, ang mga magpapa-check up on leptospirosis. Sa larangan ng agrikultura, ang dami na rin nagawa ng pangulo natin, yung 20 pesos na bigas na ipatupad na ng pangulo. Mahigit 100 ng bagong rice processing centers ang naipatayo nationwide at na-turn over na natin sa mga beneficiary farmers. Cold storages, modern cold storages for our fisher folks. Ang dami na rin nating naitayo ng ating Department of Agriculture. Sa larangan ng edukasyon, more than 20,000 bagong classrooms na naitayo simula ng administration. At may 2 taon pa tayo para ayusin yon. I believe the number is mga 95-96% na ang mga required textbooks ng grade 1 to 10, 96% na nabili na ng gobyerno at libre na binibigay sa mga estudyante. Yung benepisyo ng ating mga guro, nakita na natin ngayon, ilambas ng ina-announce ng Pangulo na wala ng public school teacher na magre-retire na teacher 1. And I think isa rin sa importante, itong public works, no? Yung public works, simula nang binuksan ng Pangulo itong issue ng flood control projects, marami na tayong napanagot, no? At marami pang mapapanagot sa base sa ebidensya. And bukod doon, it's really the policy reforms that's important, no, Admiral? Kung napansin nyo, ngayon napaka-transparent na ng budget process.
Yes, sir.
Kasi diyan pumapasok yung mga insertion, di ba? Yung mga unprogram, mga insertion. Last year, nung in-expose ng Pangulo to, wala na yung mga small committees sa Congress. Ang BICAM natin open na to the public. Nagla-livestream, mapapanood nila, ma-review nila kung sino sumusubok mag-insert, di ba? Ngayon, bagong budget na papadala natin sa Congress, sinasabi nila hindi namin alam kung ano yung public works part. Meron na po tayong transparency portal. They can just go on to the DPWH transparency portal. They can see specific projects na pinopropose ng mga congressman nila. At naka-geotag yun. Makikita mo mismo yung kung saan yung project na yun. So kayo mismo, mga kababayan, pwede nyo i-check. Pag sinabi sa barangay ko, merong tinatayong flood control project, hindi i-check nyo kung meron nga talaga. At i-report nyo dun sa transparency portal. So yung anti-corruption reforms na nagawa ng administrasyon, I think will also be one of the legacies. So, napakaraming legacy.
Yes,
Admiral, pasensya na kayo. Abutin tayo 2 oras, 3 oras
may
dito.
dadagdag lang ako, sir. Alam mo ba, sir, when we started the Transparency Initiative sa West Philippine Sea,
yes,
at kasama natin ng PIA, kapag pumunta kami ng mga universities ng Visayas and Mindanao, when we started in 2023, not everybody understands what WPS stands for. Ngayon, sir, pumunta ka kahit anong probinsya sa Mindanao, sa Visayas at Luzon, pag sinabi mong WPS, alam na nila na West Philippine Sea.
Galing.
If there's one thing na
Congratulations.
talagang masasabi nating legacy ng ating Pangulo pagdating sa usapin ng ating national security, that will be it. Ang kamalayan ng Pilipino pagdating sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea ay tumaas dahil sa Transparency Initiative na sinuportahan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos.
Totoo, Admiral, and congratulations to that. Under this administration, ang pagkakilala na natin dyan is West Philippine Sea.
Yes, sir.
Nung nakarang administrasyon, South China Sea yun.
Yes, sir. Totoo din.
Okay.
Ito naman, sir, from YouTube. This was commented about a post where you press charges sa mga fake news peddlers na nagpakalat tungkol sa energy lockdown. Ang sabi ng isang commenter, sir, sila din ang nagtanim ng fake news kaya mag-ingat tayo. Tayo daw, sir, ang nagtanim ng fake news kaya kailangan daw mag-ingat sila sa pagpo-post. Parang bago to, sir, tanim fake news.
Baligtad. Kami we're open to public scrutiny anytime, no. In fact, meron nga kami mga partners in media to fact check us. Kasama yun doon sa agreement namin with the publishers. Na kami naman sa PCO, kung tingin nyo may mali kaming pinopost, we can stand corrected. And we will correct ourselves, no. We will correct ourselves. So sila din, being responsible journalists, can fact check us, and we will correct ourselves, no? So siguro yun lang yung opinion siguro yun nung sender, Pero yun lang yung maipapangako ko na kami, we are open to public scrutiny. Lahat ng pinopost namin ay pawang katotohanan. At andyan yung ating mga responsible media outlets who are standing ready to correct us, and we are open to fact checking.
Yes, sir. Ito naman, sir, from X. Tungkol to, sir, sa babala ng palasyo sa mga fake news peddlers na nagpakalat ng misinformation about energy lockdown din. Ang sabi niya, sampulan na agad. Hit hard, not talk hard.
Tama, marami na tayong nasampulan. Marami na tayong nasampulan. At medyo hindi na nga natin sila nakikita sa social media ngayon. Nagdadalawang isip na. At ang pangalawa, I think more than anything, is the chilling effect nga. No? So, we're tracking and hopefully it trends and it's sustained na nababawasan na yung talaga outright fake na pinapakalat nila. Nagdadalawang isip na talaga yung bang mga peddlers dahil alam nilang we're going after them. Ang problema lang, some of them are really based abroad na, no? And they feel na that they can get away with it. To them, I would say, maybe think twice. We can file cases wherever you are.
Ito naman, sir, post sa YouTube about your appointment. May nag-comment. Sabi ko nga, sir, mahirap kasing i-Google search yung mga qualification and information about you eh. Kaya tuloy may nag-comment, sir. Ang sabi niya, nung in-announce yung appointment mo, I'm not sure about this guy. Hindi daw siya sure kung you fit for the job. Anong comment mo dito, sir?
Well, ako, I'm not sure about his comments too. Hindi ko alam kung saan nanggagaling. So, mahirap mag-comment, Admiral, no? I-respetuhin na lang natin yung opinion niya.
Yes, sir. Sir, for my last and final question, naniniwala po ba kayong ang West Philippine Sea ay para sa Pilipino?
That's beyond question. No? Atin yan, dapat natin pangalagaan, dapat natin protektahan. At kung sino man yung gustong umangkin yan, at ulitin ko lang sinabi ng Pangulo, sa manlulupig, di tayo papasiil.
Maraming salamat, Sir Dave.
Salamat, Admiral.
Mabuhay po kayo and let's continue spreading the factual narrative and combating misinformation.
Maraming salamat. Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Sec Dave, maraming salamat sa iyong pagbabahagi ng iyong buhay dito sa Just the Truth Podcast. More power sa iyo at sa bumubuo ng Presidential Communications Office. Another episode, another story ang ating natunghayan. Magkita-kita ulit tayo sa susunod na episode. Muli, ako si J. Tristan Tariela. Tandaan, no spin, no lies, just the truth.